the most highly requested foundation review. What's up, friends? Welcome back to my channel. I hope you all are doing well. I'm coming at you with another foundation review today. We're going to be talking about the Chanel SUBLIMAGE Le Teint foundation. This is one of the most highly requested reviews I've gotten over the past couple of months. Sophia, what do you think of the SUBLIMAGE Le Teint? Is it worth the $135 price tag? Well, that's what I'm going to be talking about in this video. I have a daylight application, full day wear test, and I'm also going to be comparing this foundation up against some other popular ones like the Chantecaille Future Skin. So if you want to hear all of my completely honest thoughts, then keep watching. All right, party people, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. Anything that I mentioned in this video, whatever is on my face today, I will link in that description box down below. I do use affiliate links if you would like to support my channel. And if you are new here, welcome, welcome. My name is Sophia and I am a complete luxury beauty addict. I upload new videos every single week. I love Chanel, I love Dior, Tom Ford, Sephora brands. So if that is of interest to you, hit that subscribe button to join our fam. Now, enough of that. Let's talk about this very expensive foundation from Chanel. As I mentioned, this is the Chanel SUBLIMAGE Le Teint. This is a part of the SUBLIMAGE line, which typically seems to be their higher, more luxury end. If you could get even more luxury than the regular line at Chanel, they're more luxury skincare infused makeup line. They also have a full range of skincare as well. And this foundation retails for $135. On the Chanel website, this is described as an exquisite liquid foundation with the ultimate sensorial touch. The creamy texture offers light to medium coverage for a glowing, healthy, and luminous look. The formula harnesses the intense power of vanilla planifolia, the signature ingredient of SUBLIMAGE, along with the luster of diamond powder and the comfort of plant-based ingredients to leave the complexion looking hydrated, radiant, and revitalized. It also includes a brush for seamless application. I must say, this is some of the most luxurious packaging I have ever seen in any foundation. It feels like a paperweight. It is a glass jar. Unfortunately, I don't think that these are refillable. I feel like that would be a really good idea for Chanel, but it is a very luxurious component. And like they said, you also get a little brush, which we will use in the demonstration in just a second. As the description would suggest, this is a very creamy foundation. You guys can see right there, it feels like moisturizer. It's kind of like a skincare texture, and it also has a lot of light reflecting pigments in it as well. So we're gonna head into the demo. I feel like all of this is gonna make a lot more sense when you guys see this applied to my face, and then we will do a full day wear test, and then I will share with you all my final thoughts. Let's get into that. It's demo day, friends. Let's get this foundation on my face, and then we're gonna do an all day wear test. I have quite the long day today, so I think we're really gonna be able to put this foundation to the test. It comes off like this, and as you can see, it completely gets everywhere. It doesn't really bother me, but I know for a lot of people, this can get messy, especially if you, I don't know, if you're in like a rush in the morning. So that's just a little bit of a heads up. I like to work off of the product that is just on the cap right there. And by the way, this is the little brush that comes in the package. So you do get a brush for the price. That's a little bit nice. The brush it's quite nice. It's a little small for me. I'm going to show you how I like to apply this foundation, but we'll also do one side of the face with the brush so you guys can kind of check it out. It's got that very useful paw shape that just kind of spreads it across the face. So let's start off with the brush. I'm just going to lightly dunk it onto the cap. And as you guys can see, it is extremely creamy. See those streaks going through the foundation? It really feels like a moisturizer. Also, the first thing that I notice is the scent. It is extremely fragrant. It's pretty much the same as the Chanel Le Beige foundation, which I love, but I don't really care for so much fragrance. So I just like to take this brush and work it around my face. The brush is a little bit smaller than I would normally go for. I like something that's like a little bit bigger and also a little bit more densely packed, because you probably can see, hopefully you can see, but you do get streaks with the brush. So it's not a bad brush. I just am not quite sure if it is the best brush for this formula. So I kind of like to get it onto the face first, and then what I do, friends, is I like to rub it in with my fingers. So here's what the foundation looks like when I put just one pass through on my face with the brush right here. As you can see, it doesn't really fully cover up my rosacea that I have here on the tops of my cheeks, but it does a pretty good job of evening out my face, and you can probably also tell it's got that really moisturized, dewy look. So on this side of my face, I'm now going to use my fingers, and I feel like this is a good way to go as opposed to maybe a sponge or sometimes even a brush, because you really don't waste a lot of product and it's very quick, and it does feel like skincare. So it just, I don't know, it just feels right. I feel like with a lot of cream foundations, this is how I like to go in. And then I just go in with another layer, and I very carefully just kind of pat it in because I do want to get a little bit more coverage in these areas on my cheeks where I need it more. And then I'm gonna go in on the brush side and just apply a little bit more. Just feel like with your fingers, you can really lay it down a little bit better. Okay, so this is what it's looking like when I put 2 thin layers on my face. It does a decent job of covering up most of my rosacea and just hyperpigmentation that I have on my cheeks, and everywhere else I feel like it's plenty of coverage, but it's not the most full coverage foundation. I would say it's medium, and I do think you can only build it up so much because it does have that really thick consistency. Once you go in with one coat, you know, you can go over it a little bit more, but it's not going to be like one of those very makeup artist-y type of foundations where it's very thin and liquidy and you can kind of put it on in layers, put one layer on, let it dry, put another layer on. I don't really feel like it's like that. I think that this is, for the most part, as much as you are going to get. And I want to get real close so you can see in the natural light the finish that it gives. It's not matte, it's not extremely dewy, but it does give you that look like you just finished your skincare routine. I feel like I'm saying this a lot in this review. It really does feel like moisturizer. So I'm gonna put on the rest of my makeup, and then I will check in so you guys can see what it looks like at the start of the day, and then I will do some daylight check-ins with you guys throughout the day. So let's do that. All right, friends, so I have my makeup finished. This is what the foundation looks like after I have layered powder bronzer, powder blush, powder highlighter, all of that on top. I did not use any primers, as you saw, just my regular skincare, and I didn't use any setting sprays. I do think it looks very hydrated, probably more hydrated than a lot of other moisturizers that I have, but I just want to give you an idea of the starting point. It's starting to crease a little bit here in my smile lines, but nothing super crazy, and it is sticking to my nose as of right now. So I'm gonna check in with you guys midday so that you can see what it looks like after a couple of hours of being in the office, leaving the house, etc., and you guys can see what it looks like. All right, friends, so this is the shot that I took outside my office in daylight of my face in midday. As you can see, even though I used a lot of powder products on top of the foundation, it still looks pretty hydrated. I still have that sort of moisturized look to my skin. It didn't settle into any fine lines. It's not drying out at all. I actually think that it looks pretty similar after a couple of hours. Overall, I think it was wearing fairly well, and it gave me a nice and glowy look. What's up, friends? It is now 6:30 p.m. I've been wearing this foundation for what is basically a full work day. I've had it on since 8 a.m. So I wanted to check in before the natural light completely goes away so you can see what this foundation is looking like. Similar to the last check-in, you can definitely see I just have, I don't want to say natural oils because my skin does not get oily, especially with specific types of foundation. It's the foundation that's still giving that very moisturized look to the skin. Getting closer, you can see it's starting to wear away, specifically around the nose, and that's kind of expected. That is where usually I see the most wear. I'm not seeing, though, dry patches. It's staying hydrated. You can tell I'm looking a little bit shiny, a little bit shinier than I typically like to look, but I'm still getting that coverage. I'm not getting any dry patches, and I'm getting kind of a nice, pretty, glowy effect. I'm getting a natural glow is what I'm trying to say. So I wanted to show you how this is looking up close while we still have some natural light, and then I will check in with you later. Good evening, friends. It is now past midnight. I'm about to wash my face, take a shower, and go to bed, but I want to show you what the foundation looks like at the end of a very, very long day. I do have my lights on because it is dark out. Hopefully this is letting you see that I have continued to get a little bit more, not dewy, oily, I guess, get a little bit more oily, kind of in the T-zone area. You can kind of tell on my nose right there. But I guess the good part is that I don't have any crustiness. I don't have any dry patches on my face at all. I feel like the foundation, it's held on pretty well. And now at the end of the day, you do see it kind of like fading from the face and wearing off. But I do like the fact that it really didn't dry me out. The biggest thing is I just do look kind of shiny. I think that's the biggest call out here. And throughout the day, it progressively gets shinier and shinier. And I would say on some days it lasts this long, and then on other days, just kind of depending on the weather and my schedule, it doesn't last quite this long. Hey friends, before we get into my final thoughts, here's one last shot of me on a different day in less flattering lighting so that you guys can see what this looks like under fluorescent lights. This is the bathroom in my office, and as you can see here, I look a lot shinier. I think you can tell a little bit better in this lighting. And I wasn't really happy this day with the way that the foundation wore. I felt like it didn't do as good of a job at covering up the redness on the tops of my cheeks. And I also felt like going in with a cream blush, it faded really easily. And I think it is because of the texture of this foundation. So just wanted to let you know that. I think that going in with powder products on top of this foundation is usually the way to go. And then sometimes, as you can see here, I'm a little bit oilier and shinier than others towards the end of the day. All right, friends, are you still with me? Now it is time for my final thoughts. After testing this foundation for what is now basically a couple of months, what are my thoughts? Do I think it is worth it? And I have to be honest, friends, I do like this foundation, but it's not my favorite. I don't like it enough for the price. Some of the benefits I think I get from this are, number one, as you saw from the wear test, it stays super hydrated on my face all day. It doesn't settle into fine lines. I don't get any crustiness. I do feel like my skin is sort of nourished and protected, and I do feel like there is some good skincare in here. I also think that it does a really good job of kind of brightening the face. Even if I swatch it on my arm, do like a little swatch test, wait for it to dry, it's very clear that those like diamond powder pigments are in there and they are doing their job. But that being said, I have to be honest, as I've worn this many, many times, and also editing videos where I'm watching myself wearing this foundation on camera in a bunch of different situations, many different days, many different weather's going on outside, I do feel like it is just a little bit too glistening for my taste. It makes my face look almost a little too moisturized. I know, crazy that I'm saying that because I do have dry skin, but I almost feel like this makes me look a little bit too shiny. I kind of feel like I want to powder it down, and when I do, I definitely appreciate the look a lot more. But for something that is $135, I do want a little bit more pigmentation. I do want a little bit more mattification on my face. I feel like throughout the day, I look a little bit tired. I look a little bit like I'm stressed out and I have these natural oils coming through, which really doesn't happen with a lot of other foundations. Furthermore, just having tested this many, many times, I do feel like a lot of times it doesn't last as long as I would like it to. I know during the wear test, I felt like it did a good job wearing throughout the day, but as I've tested it, it doesn't wear quite as long as some of the other foundations that I'm going to talk about in just a second. I also don't really enjoy the application process. I feel like it takes me a little bit longer to get that nice even application on my face. It can get a little bit streaky. It just takes a little bit too long and the packaging is a bit inconvenient. So for those reasons, it's not exactly my favorite. I like it, I'm gonna use it, but I personally don't think that I would repurchase this foundation. Who do I think this is for? I think this is for the person where you have very dry skin, first off, maybe you have mature skin, you're looking for something that is light to medium, not necessarily buildable because this isn't the easiest foundation to build on your face, but you just need, a little bit light to medium coverage, and you really care about the skincare ingredients. Maybe you really like the Chanel Sublimage skincare line. You've seen really good effects for that. Maybe you really like this beautiful, luxurious packaging. That is the person that should be buying this. If you really like that sort of skincare moisturized effect to the skin, almost like you were using a tinted moisturizer, but with more pigment, that's who I think is going to enjoy this. And like I said, it does have really nice sort of brightening and blurring capabilities. But for me, especially if I'm going to be wearing it for a long day in many different scenarios, this isn't going to be a go-to foundation. For $135, I want this to be more applicable to me in more situations. I don't think I will wear this at all in the Boston summers here where I live. It does get quite humid. If you live in a humid environment, I don't think I would recommend this at all. It does kind of transfer off the face as well. So I can just see a situation where I'm overly dewy, it's transferring onto my sunglasses. You guys know what I'm talking about. I really don't think that this will be like a year-round foundation for me. I did take a look at the ingredients for this foundation, and unsurprisingly, right at the top, we have a lot of ingredients that are focused on moisturization and skin conditioning. We have water, we have glycerin, we have squalane, we have dimethicone, and then also pretty high up on the list is that vanilla planifolia, which is the star ingredient of the Sublimage line. So I do think that this is a good skincare and makeup hybrid. But that being said, friends, a lot of those ingredients like squalane and glycerin, these aren't particularly expensive ingredients. You can find other foundations that are high in squalane. There's a lot at Sephora right now that are a fraction of the price. So if you're really interested in that vanilla planifolia, which is the star ingredient, what you might want to do is take that $135 and put it towards one of the items in the Chanel Sublimage skincare line. You're gonna get a lot more impact from that. You're gonna be putting a lot more product on your face. With foundation, I really just try and put as little on my face as possible, just as much as I need to kind of get the effect that I want. And so I feel like I would get more skincare effects if I just invested in maybe a night cream or a day cream from the Chanel Sublimage line. So maybe give that a try, see if you see an impact to your skin. And if you're absolutely obsessed with that star ingredient and you really see the effects, maybe you can kind of level up and graduate to layering on the Sublimage Le Teint foundation as well. Before we go, I do want to do a couple of comparisons. I received so many requests to compare this foundation with the Chantecaille Future Skin Foundation. And this is one of my holy grail foundations, so I totally understand you guys wanting to know, are these similar? Maybe it's because they both come in jars. A lot of people think that maybe these are similar, but I actually think that they are quite different. First off, the Chanel, this is a cream formula. It's very rich and creamy. The Chantecaille is a gel formula. It's gonna be more lightweight, and it's also more appropriate if you have an oily skin type. I am dry. I think this does a really nice job of kind of blurring any kind of dryness on my skin. It's very cooling, it's very nourishing, but I think it also works really, really well for oily skin because it is that gel formula and because it is so lightweight. I'll show you guys right here in the jar. See how it glistens there? It's so cooling and nourishing on the face, and I think that they have pretty much the same amount of coverage, but the Chantecaille, it gives you this really beautiful glass skin effect, and it also dries down a lot more. It doesn't feel like it's going to transfer as much as the Chanel. The Chanel stays that very creamy texture, and as I mentioned before in this review, it's just like a little bit too shiny for me. Swatching these on my arms as well, I also noticed the Chantecaille does not have as many light reflecting pigments in it as the Chanel. This, you can clearly see that kind of airbrush look to the skin from those diamond powders. So in general, I actually think that these are very, very different. If you have oily skin, highly recommend the Chantecaille Future Skin. This is also cheaper. It's $90, so it's still a lot of money, but it's a little bit cheaper. I much prefer the Chantecaille, to be honest with you. I use this all the time. I have dry skin. My skin's a little bit sensitive. And this just looks so, so good. It is a fantastic foundation. I honestly would recommend this one over the Chanel any day, but that's just my preference. Now, putting that aside, I do have two foundations in my collection that are very similar to the Sublimage Le Teint, but I actually like a little bit better. The first one, oh, sorry, this packaging is a little bit dirty because I've been swatching, but this is the Suqqu, the cream foundation. This is another holy grail of mine. It's actually very similar to the Chanel Sublimage Le Teint. It has those pretty light reflecting particles. It has that really nice creamy texture. It comes in a jar. It is very moisturizing. It lasts all day. But friends, I feel like this one sets down a little bit better. I don't feel like I get that kind of greasy look to my face over the course of the day. I feel like I can wear this in all types of weather. It's one of my favorite foundations. I also think that this gives a little bit more coverage than the Chanel Sublimage Le Teint. If I'm going for less of that kind of fresh, no makeup, very light look, which is when I would use the Chantecaille, I will go in with the Suqqu cream foundation. Now, the downside of this is that it's a little bit hard to get. If you are here in the US, they don't sell Suqqu here. You have to order through a UK retailer, usually Selfridges, Harrods, Liberty of London, and you do have to pay for shipping. So there's really no way around it. This is $75. So once you add the shipping in, you're kind of getting up to like the $100 mark. I do still think it is incredibly worth it. I'll put all of my shades that I wear down below, by the way, as well. But I think even with the shipping costs, it still ends up to be a little bit cheaper than the Chanel. The other one that is incredibly similar that I like a little bit more is the Peau Radiant Cream Foundation. The texture of this, very similar. The finish of this, very similar, but kind of like the Suqqu. It just sets down a little bit better on my skin. You kind of get all the same benefits as the Chanel, including a lot of really great skincare benefits, and there's also sunscreen in this as well. But I don't know, I just like the way that it wears better on my skin. I also like the convenience of the squeezy tube. This is so much quicker to apply to my face. It's not as streaky of an application. I literally can put a little bit on my fingers, melt it into my face, and be good to go. I recently did a Get Ready With Me with my mom, and she tried this, and she immediately had me order it for her right after the video. So it works really well in mature skin as well. My mom is in her 60s. It's really great. The only downside here is that it's still not really that good of a value. You are getting a little bit less product in this. We've got 0.88 ounces where typically you get 1 ounce, like with the Chanel and the other ones that I just showed you. And also the packaging isn't as luxe, but I still like this one more. I like the convenience, and I would 100% repurchase this one. So out of the ones that I showed you, which one is my favorite? Because I know everybody is going to ask. I mean, honestly, if I'm gonna pick one that I think suits the most people, I would probably pick the Suqqu. I think this one is also the cheapest out of the ones that I just showed you. These are all luxury formulas. But you know what? If you have an oilier skin type, buy the Chantecaille. If the Suqqu is a little bit hard for you to get, then pick up the Peau. Or if you want something that's in, more user-friendly and travel-friendly packaging, get the Peau. One last thing before I go, there is a liquid version of this foundation in the Chanel Sublimage lineup. I have not tested that yet, so comment down below if you guys want me to give that one a test. The Chanel sales associate in the boutique where I was buying this said that that one is supposed to be more moisturizing than this one. So I would love to know from all of you if you've tried them both. Is that true? Are they similar? The only two other Chanel foundations that I have are the Le Beige and the Chanel No. 1. These are both pretty different. They're very glowy. The Chanel No. 1, it's a little bit more lightweight, a little bit lighter coverage, incredibly glowy. And then I think the Le Beige, I think this one actually is my favorite because it is a happy medium. I don't love the strong fragrance that comes with this, but other than that, I think it has a good medium coverage. It's more buildable. It sets down more. It wears very well. It stays hydrated. At least to date, this continues to be my favorite Chanel foundation. All right, friends, that's all I got for you today. Hopefully it didn't seem like I was being too critical of this foundation. It is a very lovely product, but given the price, I do like to be super critical about all of the pros and cons so you can decide if this is going to match your preferences. It is very pricey. But enough about what I think. I want to hear about what you think. Have you tried this? Do you like it? Is it your holy grail foundation? Please sound off in the comments and let me know. Also, let me know what other foundation reviews do you want to see next. If you like this video, please don't forget to give me a big thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. And with that, friends, I hope that you see some beauty in your day, and I will see you in my next one. Goodbye.